Assalamualaikum and hi to everyone. On behalf of the ICSTEM Foundation as the organizer, a warm welcome and selamat datang to all of you. Heartfelt gratitude is extended to all distinguished speakers and participants for coming and participating in this ICSTEM 2021. I sincerely hope that all of our effort in sharing and exchanging ideas throughout this conference will create and enhance public interest as well as awareness on the importance of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics known as STEM. It is hoped that everyone enjoy this virtual conference under the new norm, and may you have a delightful and fruitful deliberation throughout the conference with us. With that note, I wish all of you happy conferencing and thank you.
Okay, that's the speech from our director, Associate Prof. Dr. Laili Haji Cik Ros. Okay, before we begin, I would like to remind to all to fill in the attendance link that we share in the chat box. Okay. So the attendance link for all attendees and presenter, you need to fill in once per day. One time per day only. Okay, thank you. Okay, so without further ado, I would like to call our first presenter for the afternoon session today, Dr. Chun Cheng Chuan, to share his findings about the secondary school student perceptions of online learning during the COVID-19. Okay. Dr. Chun, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hi, Dr. Saliha. The video, please.
Hi.
It is such a great privilege and honor to be given the opportunity to present in this online conference 2021. For your information, this is a research conducted by the group of teachers from SMK Sri Bintang Selatan, Kuala Lumpur. The topic of our research is the secondary school students' perceptions of online learning during the COVID-19 pandemic, a case study in Malaysia. I will be presenting briefly on the introduction and problem statement, literature and objectives, whereas my colleague will be presenting on the methodology, findings and discussion, conclusion and references. The world was struck by the deadly pandemic spread, COVID-19 disease, which began in Wuhan, China. This pandemic has caused unprecedented disruption to the livelihood of the people. Malaysia is no exception. Thus, the declaration of the Movement Control Order was announced on the 18th March 2020 by the government. All educational institutions such as universities, colleges, schools, training institutions, nurseries, and kindergartens have been ordered to close to prevent the widespread of COVID-19. The emergence of the pandemic has led to the implementation of the home-based teaching and learning by the Ministry of Education, Malaysia. The aim of the research is to study the issues of the home-based teaching and learning of device facilities, internet lines, and problems and challenges endured by the students. The sources of literature review are acquired from Huber and Helm 2020. The school lockdown confronted teachers, students, and parents with an entirely new situation. A shift in the learning system made schools adapt to distance or online learning, e-learning, flexible learning, and online courses. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention 2020. E-learning has been prepared to be implemented through distance and digital learning, as it is an appropriate method to ensure that students can continue learning during the COVID-19 pandemic. Zulkifli, Hamza, and Razak 2020. Internet line connectivity is a significant barrier in teaching and learning. The research objectives are to identify the problems of device facilities and internet lines faced by the students, and to identify the challenges faced by the students.
Hi everybody, I will continue presenting with research methodology. This study used questionnaire as an instrument to collect data. The student information was collected using questionnaire through the Google form. The questionnaire was divided into Part A and Part B. Part A was the item about demographic information, internet device, and line facilities. Part B is item of the challenge faced by students while attending the home-based teaching and learning session. The study sample consisted of Form 1 to Form 5 students. A total of 476 students answered the questionnaire using Google Form. Data was analyzed using statistical package for the social sciences, SPSS version 26, and descriptive analysis such as frequency, percentage, mean, and standard deviation were used to describe demographic information, device facilities, and internet line, and challenge encountered during PDPR session. Research finding. Based on Table 1, the demographic characteristic of the study subject include the distribution by form and race of the student. The subject distribution show that the total number of secondary school students by form is almost the same. Majority of the subject were the Form 1 student, 23.3%, and Form 2 student, 23.7%. 14.5% students were Form 3, 19.5 students were Form 4, and finally 18.9% students were Form 5 students. Majority of the subject were Malay, 59.9%, followed by Chinese, 29%, and Indians, 8.8%, while other race, 2.3% were the lowest number of race. Based on Objective 1 of this study, the problem of device facility and internet line faced by students while attending PDPR session, Table 2 show that 88.5% of the students have a telephone facility. 9.2% of the students share a telephone with family members, while 2.3% students do not have a mobile phone. The findings show that 40.6% of the students have computer, tablet, tab facilities. 44.7% of the students share gadget with their family members, whereas 14.7% do not have gadget. The item of I have internet access at home show that 49.6% of the students have internet cable access, 23.5% of the students have broadband internet, 23.9% have mobile data, and 1.9% of the students do not have access to the internet. Research findings show most of the SMK Sri Bintang Selatan students have device facility to attend the PDPR session. To answer the objective 2 of this study, challenge faced by students while attending the PDPR session were measured based on 7 items, namely internet connection, difficulty understanding the content of the subject, too many online learning methods used by teacher, 4, lack of enthusiasm due to not being able to face friends and teacher, insufficient internet data, problem with computer and personal device, and lack of technical skill in online learning. Research finding based on the Table 3 show that 40.3% of the respondents have an internet connection problem, and 21.6% of the students say they found it difficult to understand the subject content. This means that the main 2 challenges faced by students while following PDPR are internet connection problem and difficulty understanding the content of the subject. Discussion. SMK Sri Bintang Selatan students have device facilities. Most parents can provide mobile phone, computers, and tablet to their children in order to follow the PDPR session. Parents want to ensure that their children can continue to follow the learning session conducted online. The main problem faced by students in the problem of internet connection because they have relatively limited mobile phone data to follow the PDPR session conducted online. The findings of this study are consistent with Chong, Subramaniam, and Das 2020. They reported that the main challenge of online learning faced by students are the internet connection and limited broadband data. As the mobile phone line data was insufficient, students could not follow the online classes. Hence, the government needs to improve infrastructure facilities for long-term investment by providing better internet access to the student. Additionally, students also face difficulty in understanding the content of the subject. This situation shows that students have not been able to master or understand the content of learning well. Anwar Zakaria 2015 and Mylis Hanim Hassan 2020 found that students are not yet fully prepared to accept e-learning. Since online learning and teaching sessions are new teaching methods that students are experiencing, they are going through a transition process to adapt to learning through technology instead of face-to-face learning. Therefore, teacher needs to plan more interesting online learning sessions by focusing on content delivery to be easier for students to understand. The school administrator also need to provide training session and online learning courses so that teacher can utilize new online teaching technique and method to address students. Conclusion: the study can increase the knowledge of researcher in online learning and provide a clearer insight into the administrator and school management and teachers related to PDPR so that more appropriate measure can be implemented to enhance the effectiveness of PDPR session further. These are some of the references for this study. With that, I thank you and I'm very happy to take part in this ICSTEM 2021. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Hello and greetings, everyone.
Thank you very much for the interesting presentation, Dr. Jules. Okay. Actually, the topic is about the current issue that we handle in our teaching. Okay. So, any questions from the floor? No? Okay, Dr. Chun, let me I just want to ask you one question regarding the problem that we find the difficulties in student learning. So, what is the step that, in your opinion, that we need to overcome this, something like lack of data, lack of what you call the device. So, what if you in school? SMK Sri Bintang. Okay, so what the teachers do for the student?
Yeah, thanks for the. This might be big problem that we are having too. Main problem in online learning that most of the student not sufficient data, internet data, and the other ones is that I'm sharing with you all. Most of the students have the device, they have the mobile phone, they have the handphone. In terms of data, they have not sufficient data to continue study. Maybe because the PGPR session will continue till morning until 2 or 3 o'clock. So one of the steps that been taken by the school. Now, I think in terms of our Ministry of Education, the advanced step that provide tablet to the student. Okay. Some of our students also get the free device from the ministry a week ago. In terms of the facility also, we thank to the government also because now government also give free from the telco. The free data for 1 GB for the student to continue their PDPR. what I'm suggesting in the article just now, we might think more to do in terms of to build up the so that student might have enough data to continue their PhD.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Chun. Yes, same situation also we have in the for our student here in ICSTEM. So we also need to survey our student first before our learning process. So we need to identify the student lack of data, lack of the device. So we need to ensure that all the deliveries that we might do to the student is fully delivered. Okay,
Yeah.
not 100%, might be about 90%, 80%, something like that. Like at least we need to deliver. Okay.
Yeah, agree with you, doctor. Because if we don't have the data, so we might thinking of in terms of device also. We don't know. If we
Yes.
don't collect the data, we don't know either our student or our people have enough device in terms of the data also.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
The
correct.
research, the case study, we found out that even though our student have a device, but the internet problem is a main challenge for them. Yeah, based on the challenge that we give to the student, found out that problem, and then the content, student cannot understand the content of the knowledge or of the topic that teach by the teacher. PDPR is a new to the student. The student have transition to the face-to-face study to the online study. So the student need to adapt with this situation. That's why we found out that the two main challenges faced by the student is the internet connection, and that the student cannot understand the content delivered by the teacher. So in terms of that, we might suggest to the teacher to more focus the one session or in the time of 1 hour. So if the session might be break into the small topic that to make sure that student can catch up and understand the content. After that, he might go on to the another topic.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay. So any suggestion or any opinion from the floor regarding this issue?
Hi, Dr. Chang. Can you hear me? Can all hear me?
Yeah, Ahmad.
Yeah,
Very
okay.
clear.
Hear you.
Right. So, okay, thank you for a good presentation. But I have a question. So, from your findings that you stated before that the most obvious reasons that you got is not enough data. Could you have any minor findings that shows that there is a student who got a minimal data or not enough data, but their family occupation is what we call beyond than that? They might be a good parents that have a good what we call occupation, a very good salaries, right? But they give a reason of not enough data and not enough mobile phone. Do you have any outcomes from your surveys like that?
We found out that most of the parents can provide mobile phone to their children or provide the tablet or a laptop. Based on the data just now show that 88.5% that in our school, based on the student that we survey, out of 476 students, we found out that 89% have the device. But the main problem is the data, the internet connection problem. In terms of in the our survey, we found out that only 50% students have internet cable access. The others might use a broadband or using their mobile phone data. That not all have internet cable access at home, even though they come from the rich family or in the high income family, but the internet problem still is a main challenge for them. Even though my school is in the town area.
Right. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chen.
Yeah, thank you, Ahmad, for the question.
Okay, is there any question from the floor?
Okay, hi, Dr. Chung. I'm Subra here. Okay, I want to know your opinion about this. I got some opinion or information from teachers saying that there are students, they are not they are having problem of waking up in the morning, and they are not joining the classes because of they couldn't wake up, they're sleeping late and couldn't wake up in the morning, not because of the data or the computer problems, but the attitudes. Do you face this kind of problem in your school with your students, or if yes, how you overcome it? Thank you, doctor.
Thank you, Mr. Surba from the PPD Bangsa Pudu. Yeah, I think this is one of the main problems also facing by the teachers, even though the parents. That's why in terms of this PDPR, not in the teacher hand only. The parents might be play a major role, because I also have my 3 kids, even though every day also having the PDPR. So I might think the parents also might play a big role in terms of monitor their children. They have to make sure that children go to sleep early in the early, not go in terms of maybe 1 or 2 o'clock. They must ask the student to go to sleep, so they can wake up early in the morning to follow the PDPR session. We did in our school also. We might have a group or tele group within the parents. So if the student did not attend the PDPR session, we might inform the parent that the parent also might can play their role in terms of reminding their children to follow our PDPR session. Okay, is that answer your question, Mr. Subra?
Yes, it answered. Thank you, doctor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Suba. Thank you, Dr. Chun. Is there any other questions from the floor? Okay, if not, thank you very much, Dr. Chun, for your presentation and the Q&A session. Okay, so we continue with our next presenter. I would like to call Mr. Muhammad Saiful Khair, or Doctor, I'm not sure. Okay, Dr. or Mr. Muhammad Saiful Khair bin Omar reads the finding of meta-analysis study, the influence of STEM education towards the student attitude. Okay, so the host will share your video. Okay.
Okay, Doctor. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Mrs. Nomai Janti binti Muhammad Filos and the chairperson, Dr. Razifah binti Razali. My name is Muhammad Saiful K. bin Omar. I am from SMK Complex Perantaki, Kuala Nerus, Terengganu. The title of my study today is Meta-analysis Study, the influence of STEM education toward the student attitude. This study uses a meta-analysis design, which is a secondary study formed by identifying, exploring, and interpreting all relevant studies related to a topic domain. Webster and Watson, 2002. To narrow down the scope of previous research on STEM education in Malaysia, one database has been selected, namely Google Scholar. This database was selected because it could increase the chances of finding relevant literature. Keywords such as pendidikan STEM dan sikap belajar in Malay or STEM education and student attitude were used to research the article. Among the criteria for selecting article to analyze, number 1, research in the field of STEM education, number 2, research data collected among schools, and number 3, the latest prior interval. Finally, a total of 10 articles were identified that meet the set criteria. There are 3 research questions involved in this study. Number 1, what is the research methodology in the researchers on the influence of STEM education towards student attitude. Number 2, who are the respondents involved in the researches on the influence of STEM education towards student attitude? And number 3, what are the main findings in the researches on the influence of STEM education towards student attitude? There are 10 articles have been selected. The first one is the student attitude towards STEM project-based learning in the fun cooking activity to learn about the college system by Imaduddin and Warik 2021. The second one is the impact of STEM project-based learning on student engineering practice, scientific practice, and scientific attitude by Atmawati and Jumaidi 2021. The third is the student attitude toward by the implementation of STEM in learning by firm and Muhammad Mato 2020. The fourth is the attitude of the student attending out of school STEM workshop towards STEM education by Timor et al. 2020. The fifth is an investigation on the effect of STEM practice on sixth grade student academic achievement, problem-solving skill, and attitude towards STEM by Kurt and Bezer 2020. The sixth is the attitude towards STEM career in Sarawak Rural Secondary School by Amirah Abdurrahman et al. 2019. The seventh is the effectiveness of STEM learning towards scientific attitude and understanding of student concept by Choria 2019. The eighth is the student attitude towards STEM in developing career aspiration by Bazila Razali et al. 2018. The ninth is about do outreach activity in secondary STEM education motivate students and improve their attitude towards STEM by Venice et al. 2018. The 10th is the student attitude towards STEM education, voice from Indonesia Junior High School by Suprato 2016. Research question number 1. What is the research methodology in the researches on the influence of student attitude towards STEM education? From the analysis of the study, the researchers used a quantitative approach in the form of survey and quasi-experimental. Only 3 from 10 studies were using a quantitative approach in the form of quasi-experiment. Namely study by Atmawati and Jumaidi 2021, Kurt and Benza 2020, and Choria 2019. Meanwhile, 7 other studies use a quantitative approach in the form of survey. Research question number 2. Who are the respondents involved in the researches on the influence of student attitude towards STEM education? Based on the table, there are 3 studies involve the school student in Malaysia, 4 studies involve the student in Indonesia, 2 studies involve the student in Turkey, and 1 study involve the student in 2 countries, the United States and the Netherlands. But all the 10 studies involve the secondary school. In addition, all these studies only the involved students from non-examination classes, which were Form 2 and Form 4 students. Research question number 3. What are the main findings in the researches on the influence of student attitude towards STEM education? The main findings by Imaduddin and Warik 2021, Fern and Muhammad Mado 2020 showed that there are differences between gender. Kurt and Benza 2020 thought that there was a difference between the post-test score of the STEM attitude scale, STEM career interest survey, and inventory problem solving on the experimental STEM approach and control group constructivist approach. Amirah Abdurrahman et al. 2019 found that the student attitude towards STEM career was at a moderate level. However, Razali et al. 2018 found that there was a relationship between student attitude and developing STEM career. Atmawati and Jumadi 2021, Timur et al. 2020, Choria 2019, Venice et al. 2018, Soprato 2016 reinforced the finding that STEM education influenced student attitude in active learning such as project-based learning, STEM workshop, and outreach activity successfully improve student attitude. For conclusion, many studies showed that STEM education had influenced student attitude in learning. STEM is one of active learning. Active learning involves students in activity planned by the teacher. Students will be given the opportunity to express their idea in their STEM activity. Active learning have been found to successfully improve student performance in STEM. Freeman et al. 2014. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for Mr. Muhammad Saiful Khair. Any
Welcome.
question from the floor? Okay, so if not, I would like to ask one question regarding this presentation tadi daripada Mr. Muhammad Saiful. Okay,
Yeah.
actually, can you give me a clear bit the purpose of the study that you present just now?
I use meta-analysis study. I
Uh-huh.
choose an article. I use the Google Scholar to find 10 articles relate to STEM education and attitude of student.
So the finding research regarding the attitude of student about the STEM education, is it correct?
Yeah, yes, correct.
Okay, thank you very much. Any question from the floor?
Thanks for the presentation, Mr. Muhammad Saiful.
Yeah.
And can you share with us now you relate the attitude of the student with the STEM education, right? What you find out from the meta-analysis based on the attitude of the student with the STEM education? Do they like the STEM education or how their attitude is it they very they are like to study STEM education or in terms of how which group like to study in terms of male or female, what the outcome of the meta analysis?
Okay. Actually, I find the active learning is more important into encourage the attitude of student to learn STEM. So many research show that the active learning is good for to encourage attitude of the student. That's all.
Okay, based on your analysis study found out that active learning is one of the strategy or one of the method that can be used
Yeah.
study STEM, right?
But then I didn't listen. Listen.
Oh, you cannot hear me. Okay, based on your meta analysis, you found out that active study. Active study is one of the method or one of the
Yeah.
way to encourage the student attitude toward the STEM education, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Saiful.
Okay, welcome.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Chun. Any question from the floor or any sharing idea? Okay, so we will continue to our third presenter for this afternoon session, which is Dr. or Mr. Ahmad Basri bin Roslan, with the research about predictions modeling through chaotic approach on ozone pollutant time series in Shah Alam City. Okay. Mr. Ahmad Basri,
Alright,
you
okay, yeah.
please. Okay.
Okay. So, sorry. Okay. Very good morning. Good evening, everyone. Assalamualaikum. My name is Ahmad Basri. I'm not a doctor yet. Okay. So, my presentation is about the prediction of modeling through chaotic approach on ozone pollutant time series in Shah Alam City. So, have you ever wondered what will be happen to our life in a day or tomorrow or in 2 days or 3 days? Can we do that? Can we see what will be our future looks like? Can we predict the reading? Can we see the reading of the coronavirus infections by tomorrow? By instinct? Of course not. So we have to do a prediction. So same as go to the pollutant time series as I choose in my research is in ozone in Shah Alam City. Okay, so I am from Sekolah Menengah Sains Pendang or Akademi Bintang Pendang. So my fellow researchers are Dr. Nuzila Abdul Hamid, Hairunisa Cik Yusof, Syahidatul Idayu Syahizam, and last but not the least is my student. She's Franklin Chaijun. Right. So as introduction, right. So in 2019, it is approximately 8.9 million people in the world that died due to the pollutions. McCarthy 2019, most populations happen in China and India. Why it happens there? Because the higher the population, the higher the rate of pollution happens due to the human activities and some sort of factory activities. Right. So according to Ababana 1996, the nature of the data can be classified into deterministic and random. Deterministic data is predictable, while random data is not predictable. Chaotic data is in between the deterministic and random. Chaotic data is predictable, so however, it is very sensitive and dependent to initial conditions. In addition, for the chaotic data, only short-term prediction is allowed. So as my research, I use the chaotic approach. Why I am using the chaotic approach? There is a several method for us to do the predictions. As before, there is a neural network developed by Muhammad et al. 2015, and also there is multilinear regression method, Al-Asuri 2019. Both researchers use a very good prediction modeling, prediction method. But the worst thing first comes is, in order to do the prediction by using the previous method, they need a lot of data, such as the humidity, the temperature factors, and a lot of factors. But in chaotic approach, we just only need one data, which is the past data. Let's say we have last month data, so we can use the data to predict the next month data. That is the beauty in chaotic approach. Right. So my main objective, there are three objectives in my research. First, to determine the nature of ozone pollution using two selected methods, namely the phase space plot and Chow method. Second one is to predict the ozone pollution using local linear approximation method, LLAM, local linear approximation method, and ILLAM, which is improved local linear approximation method. And then the performance of this method is seen by calculating the correlation coefficient of the test data with the actual data. And last but not the least is to apply the improved method of determining the nearest neighbor value of K. So as for the third objective, the previous method that has been used before is try and error. So in my method, so in this research, I improved according by testing 1 until 200 numbers of K, whichever comes first, that gives the best correlation coefficient. by using the plotting graph method. Right. So the data that I chose is the ozone pollution data. It is a secondary hourly data obtained from the Department of Environment Malaysia. So the duration of the research is from 1st of June 2014 until 13 June 2014. So the data has been separated into two data, which is first is train data for 3 weeks, 552 hours, and second one is the test data for 1 week, 168 hours. Okay, why I chose ozone pollution data? The previous research that have been done is by using onto the carbon monoxide data. It has been approved that it is a chaotic data. All right. So ozone pollution data also really needs an important for us to do the research. Why? Because ozone at a troposphere level, above troposphere level, it is good because the uses of ozone is to protect from the UV light from entering the earth. However, the ozone can be formed between the troposphere level due to the few chemical reactions. So we have to predict the ozone pollution data at our troposphere level in order to maintain our public health. Right. So the location of data is where correct is in Shah Alam, Selangor, Malaysia. So Shah Alam is an urban area located in Selangor State of Malaysia. Shah Alam is also filled with residential, commercial center, education hub, and recreational attractions. Shah Alam is frequently visited by people. Hence, the prediction of air pollution such as ozone in this area is very necessary to maintain the public health. All right, this is the hourly data from the 1st of June until 13 June. So total is 720 data. So as we can see here, there is a fluctuation, a big fluctuation. So why it fluctuates so much? Because the ozone formed in the day much more better because in the presence of light. So the recording of the ozone level is high at the daylight. All right. So in chaotic analysis, we have to do a few things before we proceed with the prediction. So this is the flow. So chaotic analysis, we have to do the reconstruction of a space that requires two parameters, which is one is delay time tau. Tau is equal to 1, and m embedded dimension from the Chow method. So after reconstruction of the phase space has been done, we have to detect the chaotic behavior onto the time series that we use, such as if you want to use the ozone, we have ozone data, we have to detect whether the data is chaotic or not. But if we see the data is not chaotic by using a few methods, then we cannot proceed with the prediction. However, if we find that the data is chaotic, then we can proceed to the prediction by using those three methods. Simultaneously, we can apply the determination of the parameter K. Hence, the research ends and data has been recorded. Right. So the prediction model that has been used in this method in this research is three methods as mentioned before. So the first one is local linear approximation method, right? As follows. Local linear approximation methods as follows. And last but not the least is improved local linear approximation method that had been done by Hamid and Nurani recently at 2013. All right. Okay, the results and discussions. So this is the method for us to detect chaotic behavior. Is either the data is chaotic or not. So here, as we can see, there is a phase space plot, that a method for us to check whether the data is chaotic or not. So according to Ababanel 1996, so we can see the strange attractor showed here. Okay, it is an accumulated in this graph. Okay, so it shows that the data is chaotic. So is it enough for us to check the data is chaotic or not? No. So we can go at least more than one. We have to find at least more than one to detect whether data is chaotic or not. So the second method that we are going to detect the chaotic behavior presence or not in the data. So the second method is the Chow method. In Chow method, there is two parameters that shows that the data is chaotic or not. So according to Chow 1997, so if E1M is a dotted line, there is a saturation happens, okay, as for this data, we can see that the data here, so the saturation starts from 6 up until 10, okay, it goes more and then it goes saturate. Okay, as we can see that saturation happens in E1M, so the data it seems to be chaotic. And the second parameter is E2M. If there is at least one parameter E2M is not equal to 1, so the data is chaotic according to Chow 1997. Right. So it is true that prove that the data that we are using is chaotic. So we can proceed with the prediction. So as for this Chow method, we can only find the parameter m, which is the m is above 0.95. So we can take this as m. That is the parameter needed for the calculation after this. Right. All right. So this is the result of the local mean approximation method. Okay, as I mentioned before, we are going to compare the third objective. Okay, the third objective compare the new method that has been provided by me. We are using the by testing from 1 until 200. So as we can see here, the maximum value, the correlation coefficient, which is the prediction performance of my model, that is give the best or the maximum prediction is at k is equal to 17. So as we can see here, by using k is equal to 17, we can find a better prediction performance, which is give 84.86%. A good prediction level, better prediction performance compared to the trial and error method that had been used in previous research before 2018, right? So as we can see here, we can see that the improved method has been successfully done here, okay, for LMAM. So second one is local linear approximation method. So the first value already give the best value. Why it gives the same value? Because the local linear approximation method, it gives, this is the most stable linear method, the most stable prediction method it can be. However, the previous method, we can't neglect the previous method because the previous method gives a better prediction than local linear approximation method. Last but not the least is improved local linear approximation method. As we can see here, at 146k number of k give the best prediction performance, which is 0.86.06. Instead, we are using the try and error method. There is another method in determining the k value that give a better performance. So overall findings by using three methods, okay, we can see that the value, the best value of k that give a prediction performance is LMAM, k is equal to 17, give correlation coefficient 0.8486. LLAM, k is equal to 1, give 0.8453. And ILLAM, 146, give the correlation coefficient 0.8606. The conclusion is the presence of chaotic nature in ozone pollution data at Shah Alam has been detected by phase and Chow method. Short-term prediction gives satisfactory results through the local mean approximation method and the rest of two methods with high correlation coefficient. The prediction by using the improved method in determining the value of k gives the best performance by using ILIM. So it is preferable to apply the improved method by varying the number of k to compute a better prediction performance. Hence, this method can be used in the next or future research that will give a better prediction performance to help the authorities in monitoring the air quality. So in future research, as for now, we only do on to carbon monoxide data series, ozone data series, and nitrogen monoxide data series. In future, we can check for the environmental field, which is wind speed data series, temperature data series. Also in economics, we can predict the gold price data series, currency data series. And as for now, I am trying to do a pilot study onto medical field, which is electrocardiograph reading data series. So we got a good positive results. So and as an acknowledgement, I would like to express my utmost gratitude to the Department of Environment Malaysia for contributing the necessary data. This research is supported by the Ministry of Education Malaysia under Fundamental Research Grant as follows. Not to forget, I would like to say thank you to the Ministry of Education for the fee waiver program in encouraging participation among teachers for ICSTEM 2021. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the interesting presentation, Mr. Ahmad Basri. Okay, so I will open the question from the floor, if any. Any questions from the floor?
Because this is not a STEM subject, I guess. I mean, not STEM in within the schools.
Yes, exactly. But
Okay.
yes, to be honest, I also not the expertise in the modeling. But
It's okay.
yes, but the thing is, I would like to know from your model to the previous model, how percentage the improvement about the predictions?
All right. Thank you for the questions. Okay, let's see. Previous model has, as I mentioned before, the best model that give the result is at 0.8594, as mentioned here, as you can see here. So they use in choosing the value of k, it is very crucial. It's very crucial because you have to check one by one numbers of k. Okay, so they just use the try and error method. So by using the try and error method, they can just put any values. When they put any values, they will get a prediction performance. But in my improvement, I improve the method of choosing the value of k. So I do this simultaneously. I check the result by testing the value of k from 1 until 200. I'm not choosing one by one. Okay, so as we can see here, there is an improvement, slightly 0.86.06. Okay, there is a slight improvement, but who knows, this slight improvement may affect your health in the next 10 days, 20 days, or 30 days in the future. Because at last, our health is the most important thing. All right. Did it answer your question?
Yeah, yes, correctly answered. Okay, thank you very much.
Oh,
Is
well,
there,
Mr.
okay,
Ahmad,
any
yes.
other questions?
Yeah, Mr. Ahmad, thanks
Yeah,
for the presentation.
all right.
I'm also not in the field of the pollution, but just
Alright.
want to ask you about your research. You come up with the model and then the method to predict the pollution, yeah? Is it the model that you've been introduced for us only can predict the air pollution or other type of pollution like water pollution? Just now, in terms of your further study, or you might suggest to test in the other field, right?
All right, thank you, Dr. Shun. All right, so my research is an improvement in the value of K, which is my third objective, right? Okay, previous research in Malaysia has been started as early as 2013 by Hami and Nurani 2013, also by his fellow mates, called as Adnan and Nurani. Okay, Adnan and Nurani do a prediction onto water flow in many river flow in Malaysia. So she introduced that. And also Hami and Rani do the prediction onto temperature time series. Also Hami and Rani do onto the coastal reading. Okay, coastal reading. Also recently onto PM10. Okay, it is not limited onto a research onto a pollutant time series. It also go beyond than that. But how we can use the data itself, we have to test the data. It's either the data is chaotic or not, as I mentioned before. So before we proceed with the prediction, because this prediction is very easy. No, it's very easy. The beauty in chaotic approach is we just need one data, not like the neural networks, multi-regression network that needs a lot and multiple of data factors such as air humidity and so on and so forth. But in chaotic approach, as I mentioned before, we just only need one data, like a month data, then we can predict another month data. But first thing, the beauty is we have to check the chaotic approach and the chaotic behavior by using several methods. Is it answer you, Mr. Chen?
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
All right.
Thanks so much.
All right, welcome.
Any other questions from the floor about regarding the air pollution or the new modeling approach?
Oh, okay. If there is no questions, I would like to add more a few.
Okay.
So, in addition, this method is actually an advanced linear approximation method in SPM level actually. So I have introduced the calculation, the manual calculation to my students instead of doing the coding thing that's the most hardest part. So we have come up with a new idea from this research, okay, in order to predict another data series, then it is doable to the student outside. So we already run a research for this, and then we are going to present this research in UKM on November. So actually, STEM is as mentioned before by Prof. Monan just now in the ballroom. All right. So I'll try to catch up my students' intentions or loves in the mathematics in STEM field. So I'll try to introduce them with this kind of an approach, application of mathematics in real life. So it seems that they are really intuitive, where they are really expressing their intention in learning mathematics and more. And the most important thing is they are really good in this and then doable, and then they are about to publish a paper. That's the first thing. It's very good for them. That is why there is my student out down there, Franklin Shaijun. Okay, he managed to do the proofreading. He managed to do the few grammatical errors and few literature reviews, and then he tried to we call correct all of my papers that I've sent to AS engineers lah.
How old is your student? May I ask?
Oh, Franklin Shaijun, she's just 13 years old.
Sorry?
Franklin Shaijun, the fifth one.
Oh yeah, the fifth one. Yes.
All right.
How old? How old is she?
13 years old.
13. Oh, correct.
Oh, yeah.
So impressive. Okay.
Because we are in Science Pandang, we are the same program as College Jenis Pintar. They already learn biology, chemistry, physics, additional mathematics for at Form 1 level, and he managed to get at least 97 and above for all subjects.
So it's like excellent student project lah.
All students who enter this school, they have to go through an IQ test.
Okay.
All of the students here is 130 below IQ.
I see. Okay, thank you.
All right, that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. I don't know how to stop the sharing. All right, okay, done. All right, thank you.
Assalamualaikum. Hi, I'm Nolizawati bin Baharin from Sekolah Seri Putri. So the topic of my action research today is the use of 5E approach in science online teaching and learning during COVID-19 pandemic. Alhamdulillah, I'm grateful to Allah to be present here and be part of the International Conference in Science, Technology, Engineering and Mathematics, ICSTEM 2021. Next, for introduction, the COVID-19 have affected the teaching and learning process of students, especially to the subject of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics STEM, which requires students to carry out activities based on problem solving, observation, as well as experiment. To reduce the negative impact of COVID-19 on education, online learning became the key method for implementing teaching and learning process. The shift to online learning has caused teachers to face various challenges to familiarize themselves with the use of technology as well as in producing teaching material and monitoring student learning. Online learning requires teachers and students to have technological facilities to facilitate the teaching and learning process. In addition, teacher readiness factors as well as support and collaboration from the government, school teachers and parent community also important factors in the success of online teaching and learning. Science teachers, for example, can encourage students to conduct scientific investigation by providing simple science activities that students can perform while at home. One of the approaches that teachers can use in online science teaching and learning is the inquiry approach. The inquiry approach is a student-centered approach. The inquiry approach can encourage students to be actively involved in learning because students will learn through meaningful learning experience. The 5E inquiry learning model, also known as the 5E instructional model, consists of 5 phases. The 5 phases are engagement, exploration, explanation, elaboration, and evaluation. The engagement phase is to attract the interest and attention of students. The exploration phase allows students to explore their learning through a variety of activities, have discussion, and find solutions to problems. Explanation phase requires the teacher to question the students and encourage the student to explain the ideas based on the result obtained from the activity. The elaboration phase requires teachers to encourage students to apply their understanding to further strengthen their level of understanding, while the assessment phase requires teachers to assess the level of knowledge, understanding, and skills of students. Next is teaching and learning reflection or problem statements. At the beginning of MCO, I actively attended online workshop session organized by various parties, in addition to those organized by Sekolah Sri Putri, to learn the application that need to be mastered to conduct online teaching and learning session. During this period, I conducted online teaching and learning during this MCO using the Google Meet app while providing explanation using PowerPoint or Google Slide. All learning materials and exercise or student work are sent through Google Classroom. At the end of the lesson, students are given quizzes that need to be answered in the form of Google Form or quizzes. Most of the teaching and learning approaches are more teacher-centered and less student-centered. Although I have also included learning sessions that require students to present their work, I have found that there is still lack of active involvement of students during learning session at home. I would like to try to implement the 5E approach during online teaching and learning session. I am confident that if given a task, such as a simple experiment at home, students will be able to perform it well, because I think students of Sekolah Sri Putri are highly committed students. Even in a pandemic situation, active learning among students must take place continuously at home. Next, the focus of study is, number 1, science learning using the 5E approach during online science teaching and learning to create an interesting teaching and learning environment, provide fun for students and encourage active participation. Second, this initiative is expected to ensure must contribute to meaningful learning for students, especially during online science learning in pandemic season. This study generally aims to describe the use of the 5E approach in online science teaching and learning during COVID-19 pandemic, while for the specific objective are as follows. Number 1, improving students' understanding through 5E learning and implementation of simple experiment at home. And second, identify student mastery of the topic, which is stimuli and responses. This study involved 29 students of 3 usaha, so that each student has the opportunity to benefit from the use of the 5E approach in online science teaching during the COVID-19 pandemic. The study is an action research using the action research model by Stephen Cabis and McTaggart, 1988. Based on this model, there are 4 steps in conducting research, namely reflecting, planning, action, and observing. In order to understand the problem in depth, I observed student participation, motivation, attitude, behavior, and interest during the online science teaching and learning session. Next is teaching and learning activities on stimulus and response topic using 5E learning model. During engagement phase, teacher explains the success criteria for the lesson, and then teacher shows a video of a child with various emotion and expression of feelings. Teacher asks about the student's reaction to the video being played, the variety of emotion that the child has expressed, as well as why we react to situation in a certain way. While for exploration phase, teacher gives overview of how the nervous system works using appropriate example. And then teacher guides students to associate the nervous system and sensory organ. Teacher introduced important terms such as stimulus, receptor, nerve impulse, brain, spinal cord, effector, and response. And then teacher assigns students to conduct a simple experiment at home related to, number 1, investigate the sensitivity of skin on different parts of the body towards the touch stimuli. To investigate that the sensitivity of the tongue towards taste stimuli is related to the number of receptors. And then teacher asks the student to make observation, record the data by taking pictures or videos, and then prepare a presentation. Next, for explanation phase, students present their result of their investigation according to their creativity. Students can use any medium for presentation such as PowerPoint, Google Slide, or video. Then for elaboration phase, students carry out case study activities. Teacher shows 2 pictures to the student. The first picture is a picture of the jury of the cooking competition with tasting the cuisine of the participants. teacher asks the student to study the following questions. Okay, and then the second picture is the picture of someone using mobile phone, and then teacher asks the student to study the following questions. And then student need to present the answer for each question. Then for evaluation phase, student need to answer the topical question provided by teacher in Google Form. This topical test contains 15 objective questions with answer choices A, B, C, and D. Next is the finding of the research. These are the observation during the implementation of 5E phases. For engagement phase, teacher found that students are able to express their reaction to the video being played. Students also able to explain the reason why humans are able to react to situation in certain way. Students are able to relate responses to the thinking and decision making by brain. Other students able to answer the question by typing in the chat field in the Google Meet. Students also seem eager to start the learning session. For exploration phase, teacher assign a student to conduct simple experiment at home a few days in advance to give student more preparation to conduct experiment as well as to prepare presentation material. Teacher has reminded student to record observation, take picture and video so that they can be included for the presentation session. While for explanation phase, students are able to present the result of their experiment according to creativity. Students have used PowerPoint, Google Slide, and video to present the result of their experiment. There were students who explained that siblings and family members also helped to take picture and video while the students were performing the experiment at home. And then students upload the presentation material in Wakelet for future reference. For elaboration phase, students are able to find information for case study activities. Students are also able to present the answer for each question. Case study activities also help students to understand the topic in depth. For evaluation phase, students can answer all the questions given by teacher in the Google form. All students were found to obtain at least 11 marks out of the full mark, which is 15 marks. Okay, next is discussion. Based on the observation, I found that all students have given effort to complete the assigned task. According to Kota Natalie et al. 2020, through experimental activities conducted at home, students can improve online scientific literacy. This suggests that students can perform scientific activities at home if given the opportunity. Through scientific activities at home as well, students are able to realize the relevance of the activities carried out with their daily life. I found that the implementation of the 5E method in online science teaching and learning has successfully increased the interest, understanding, mastery, and achievement in the topic of stimulus and responses. Through 5E method, learning become more student-centered and experimental activities at home revolve more around the students' own interests as well as implemented according to the students' own level of learning ability. Students who are actively involved in learning are found to have higher level of autonomy as well as higher spirit of independence. Next, students also become more motivated to learn science because they can see the relevance of the science to other subjects. Students are also more excited to share ideas and views. Lastly, as conclusion, the use of the 5E model during the teaching and learning of science online is a learning approach that is able to increase interest and generate thinking skill among students. The use of the 5E model is also in line with the aspiration of education in Malaysia, which aim to produce students who are able to think critically and creatively. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Nurlizawati. Okay, so any question from the floor regarding the finding or the research finding from Mrs. Nurlizawati? No question? Okay, before that, I would like to ask for all the participants, all the attendees here to fill in the form attendance for those who did not fill the attendance form yet. And please fill in the evaluation form for today's. Okay. So before we end our session for today, is there any questions to Mrs. Nurlizawati?
Okay, Doctor. Question to our presenter, Mrs. Elizawati, right? Just now that
Yes, Mrs.
it's about
Nurlizawati.
yeah, it's about online teaching in science, right? Online teaching subject. So I just want to know from Ms. Elizawati, either the method, the 5E method is suitable for the other subject to go about that.
Mrs. Nurlizawati, can you please answer? Okay.
Okay, thank you so much for the question, Mr. Cheng Chuan, right?
Yes.
Okay, I think this one is for science. At first, I think I find it difficult to implement 5E in terms of they are one phase, explore. Okay, but for other subject, I think it depends on the teacher. If they think that the 5E can, improve student engagement or student achievement, I think why not they implement 5E in other subjects as well. Not only science or STEM subject. I think it can be implemented to other subjects as well.
Okay,
Yes.
thanks for the suggestion. Because I'm teaching physical education. This morning also we heard about 5E model, so I might try this 5E model in my lesson for the becoming class. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Lizawati.
Okay, welcome.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Chuns. And anyone who interested in for the presenter models and so on, you can try ask the contact for our presenter and directly ask them regarding the model issue. Okay. So before we end our session for today, so I would like to thank you for all for sharing your interesting, your innovative and informative findings in our conference for today. And then don't forget to join us tomorrow for another sessions presentations for oral. And you may join to the others room, not only for the fifth room. So you are able to join to the others room. We have 7 rooms for oral presentations. Okay, before we close our session for today, I would like to have you all open the video. Okay, click open the video. We would like to have a one last photo session for today. And before I forget, that actually for every sessions or every room, we have record this oral session. So we might share the recording sessions at our website, ICSTEM website. So you for the others, and then maybe you want to know the presentation from the other room for today. So you might find the recording versions at ICSTEM website. Okay, so everybody, please on your camera. Okay, so I will start with count of 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Smile. Okay, one more time. In a count of 3. Yeah. Okay, another one. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you very much. And stay safe for everybody for COVID-19. Okay, thank you very much. And don't forget to join us tomorrow. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dr.
Okay.
Thank
See you tomorrow.
you.